This is FoosWeek, folks. I'm Adam Gilson. There's Hannah Smith. That's Tom Robinson down there. This is your one-stop positivity shop for all things foosball, all the great things that are going on in the week behind us and the week ahead of us in foosball. We have a lot to talk about tonight. We have a guest, our first guest we're going to get to in a moment, Don Chalifoux. He'll be talking to us about Illinois State this weekend. Really excited to be seeing what goes on there. I do believe that is Tony Sprademan's last tournament as a resident or permanent resident here of the United States. More on that later. And then after we talk to Don, we're going to have the inaugural Hall of Fame inductee of the Florida Foosball Hall of Fame, Mike Green. That'll be a little bit later after that. So we got a great show for you folks, as per usual. But Tom, how you doing, sir?
Hey, it's another day. I got through Monday. I think that's a challenge, but now Tuesday is almost done here on the East Coast.
Oh,
So I'm mighty happy. I'm ready, getting ready to do some fierce writing next couple of days for Tavern Players Magazine. But yeah, looking forward to all that.
you freaked me out there for a moment. I thought you were saying that today was Monday. And I was like, no.
Oh no,
No.
that was yesterday.
I can't relive that same day twice. Okay, good. Just real quick, what is fierce writing?
I mean, I'm a pressure writer. So when I write for a magazine, or back when I was in college, when I was writing articles for college credit, I always like to wait till like I've maybe 24 hours on the clock and just like go at it, because that's when the creative juices really flow, and I really feel like my wife really gets upset because she's also a writer and editor, and she hates how quickly I can write. So but I have to wait till the pressure cooker's
under
really on.
pressure, the adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am. I actually like to finish my assignments as I'm turning them in. It's a balancing act.
You got me beat.
Well, Hannah, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well. I'm excited to talk about foosball. A little hectic day at work, but got some things finished up, and now I kind of get to relax and talk about fun stuff. So that's super exciting. I always love FoosWeek. Getting to talk about tournaments kind of keeps you excited about the next one you get to go to. So super excited about it, to hear about Illinois and recap some Florida State stuff.
What is your next one?
Texas. Oh well, Bonzini actually.
Zini.
Yep,
Where?
it'll be North Carolina State, and
neat.
in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks technically.
It's
One, 2,
May
yeah, 3,
19th through
I
the
think.
21st.
Yep, that's it.
Then you come back,
Snook-
recharge,
Snookers.
go to Texas
For
State.
4 days. Yep, and then go to Texas.
Wow, what a schedule!
Yeah,
I love that. Are you? Do you?
me too.
But you're. I mean, you're playing. Are you playing on that because for funsies, or are you getting prepped for your kind of abroad play that you're going to be doing? Well, both.
Kind of both. I really do love the Bonzini scene in North Carolina, and I love the people there. So it's always a win-win when I get a chance to go and play. Of course, I was going to get some table time under competitive setting and try out some new things that I've been practicing for Bonzini to see how it kind of rolls before we do go to Germany in June. So it's like a win-win for me. I love the tournament. I love the people there. It's an easy little flight, and I have a weekend to get to hang out with really cool cats and to hopefully get some kind of foosball experience that I can use. So
Nice.
it's gonna be fun.
Love that.
The only downfall is Bracklin is not going
Oh,
this year.
that's a
Oh.
bummer.
Yeah, I know. His best friend's getting married, and he's in the wedding, and he was like,
Well, they could just move
I
the
don't
wedding.
think I can skip this one, Hannah. And I was like, skip it. Nothing
that?
to it. He'll get married again. But like,
Well,
he won't.
that
They're
didn't-
literally like perfect.
That didn't work
No,
out?
there's no chance.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, you better go to this one. They're never
No.
getting married again. They're
No.
literally perfect. So
a Bonzini
understandable,
themed
I guess.
a Bonzini themed wedding wasn't in their.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking you could do that.
Yeah, I know. I was like, can you just get them to change it, like, so they can have it like Thursday, so you can fly out Friday, and we can, whatever.
Oh well,
Didn't work.
Some
So,
people. That's
Solo
fine.
mission.
That's nice though. I like those shorter flights. These cross continent flights are not good. I'm not a big fan of those. Coming back from Florida
Yeah,
was no
I've been
bueno.
working on that all day to get our Germany stuff done. So
Is that going to be a nonstop thing? Is it nonstop flight, or are you taking
to Raleigh?
no to Germany? No?
Nope. Right now, if it works out the way I want, there's one stop in Houston for like 3 hours, and then it's direct. So super cool. Hopefully, I can finagle my little way to get it all paid for free with my points and like all this like
Nice.
travel course stuff I've been doing. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, it works out.
Nice. That's exciting.
Fly Lufthansa. They have really good food.
Noted. I'll check it out.
Just don't. I'm going to self-censor. So let us move on here because I know that, so whenever we talk to tournament directors, we know that they just have so much stuff going on their plate. We talked to Rob Cato last Tuesday, who was, of course, the tournament director for the Masters Championship this past weekend, and he literally got a shipment of tables in the middle of the show. So,
Yeah.
you know how these things, he had to go in and set it up. So that's how it is. So let's just dive straight into it. I'm going to introduce now the legendary, the Don Chalifoux. Don, you there, buddy?
I'm here. How you doing?
Good, sir. How you doing? What are we expecting this weekend going on at the Illinois State?
Well, finally, thank God, some warm weather. Well, yeah, it's supposed to be, right around 70 and sunny, excuse me, all weekend. So we're happy about that. And looks.
Don, we lost you there for a sec.
Maybe he got a shipment of foosball tables. You can just go start setting them up. I'm sure he'll be back. I didn't actually realize it got warm in Chicago.
Well,
Me either. He said 70, and I was kind of like floored. Like, what?
eventually.
No way.
It happens eventually.
I was there briefly in Chicago once during the wintertime, and that was an unpleasant experience.
Well, it can be sometimes.
No,
but,
you know what it is? I was in cold weather a lot, and but not cold until like windy cold.
Mm-hmm.
Windy cold is like the next level, right?
It's the Windy City.
It's the Windy City. Oh, there he is. Is that Don? You back?
I don't know what happened. I'm horrible with technology. I don't even know if I moved the phone and did something wrong. I'm going to freeze and not move it.
You never know, but you can hear us. We can hear you now, though.
Yeah, and I don't know how much we had heard, but like I said, we're just kind of, the weather changes this time of the year. We're pretty psyched about that. It's going to be nice and warm, and all the top players that are coming, and just all the great players that are coming in general, the great support that we get from our Midwest nation, as well as, we try, if we get support from all over, as well as we try to support everybody too. And we know we can't go to them all unless you're Hannah.
I missed this weekend.
What a crazy schedule you got, girl. But yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Our host, the bowling alley, where we are, is our local spot we play. They're all excited about it. They were excited. They said last year, even though it was only 7 months ago, we never wanted to be in the fall because we just never had luck in the fall like we did in the spring. So we did move it back to the spring. So we had Illinois State 7 months ago, but now it won't be again till next year in the spring. So, but yeah, everybody's excited, and I can't wait. So
I'm not sure on this, but how long has Illinois State been a thing, or how long have you been involved with it? Kind of give me some background history of this tournament, since it's one that I haven't been able to make just yet.
Well, we were on and off. We were in the heyday back in the late 70s and early 80s. We had a bunch in a row, and I really couldn't even. I'd have to have some story and look up how many we had. We had a little run of maybe 6 or 7 or 8, maybe in a row, and then kind of it went down a little. We didn't have them for a little while, and I got out of this. I didn't really necessarily get out of the sport, but in the early and mid 90s, my business started doing real well, and I kind of had to got to get away from foosball a little bit as far as just being all over it, and so I just kept up a little bit, but we didn't have Illinois State, and then we restarted them again about 12 or 13 years ago. We restarted them for maybe the third or fourth time, because we had a few also, I think, somewhere in the early 90s, just a few, and then we went away again. And then when I started up back at the Poplar Creek Bowl again, I started Illinois State back up again. That was, like I say, about 12 or 13 years ago. And we had 10 in a row, and then COVID hit us, and boom, our state was shut down for 2 years. It was horrible. And in fact, we went to Wisconsin State. They didn't miss a beat. They had their state the very next year in 2020 when ours was canceled. They had it in 2021. Ours was canceled. The bars were all closed. So we struggled a little bit. And so right now we're kind of rebuilding, as well as, rebuilding our value to our facility that hosts us. And, everybody's happy and things are going well. And, everybody around Chicago here in our Midwest nation is pretty psyched about it. So I'm happy about that.
That's awesome.
So Don, tell us about your local scene. I know that in your own personal domain there in your house, you have something called the gym. What is the gym?
Well, it just actually from a long time ago when I had 5, 6, to sometimes even more tables in my basement years and years ago.
Wow.
And I just foosball players are coming to town and they'd never leave. I had so many players through all the years live with me, and was lucky to have a real nice big house where Gail was 3 stories up and could not hear the foosball room in the basement. And it's Chad Hansen's, Don Swan, like Steve Bilarakis, just Tiffany. There's so many people lived and stayed there, and Foosers that passed through and ended up staying. Like Tommy Atkinson passed through one year and ended up staying at my house for almost a year. Just on and on. A lot of people, a lot of players like that through the years. And it was just called the gym because it was more like that's where we trained. It really was. And then when people got there and said, "Man, I was looking forward to like a nice big gymnasium," I thought it was, no, it was just a basement with foosball tables in it, and they just called it the gym. That's all. But
Well,
we had a lot of world champions come out of it, so they just owned it the gym, and we just call it the gym. That's all.
Don,
Little nickname.
would you quite honestly would consider adopting me? Because
Same.
Well, the wife would let me because she's been. Thank God I have her because she's done so much. She's always supported all of it, and she's always been there for us. She's always let all the players stay here. And if I without her, I don't know what I would have done. But yeah, she'd probably still say okay.
Wow, I love it.
That's interesting, Don, that you bring that up, the gym, and how long that went on for, what, decades?
Well, yeah, it's probably started back probably in I would say probably at least in the 80s. We had played. We were playing. I was playing. My first Worlds was in 1975 in Denver. So,
Wow.
And I learned how to play in Germany in 1970 in the Army. So I've been playing quite a few years. But as far as the dedication and the tournament, being on the tour and that dedication that takes, and all that, we just went from one table in the house. All of a sudden we had 2, then we had 4, then we had 5, and we always had 4 or 5 tables down in my basement. So, I mean, Friday nights people come over and they wouldn't leave till Sunday night about midnight. Card games, of course, a few of those thrown in.
Love it.
I feel like, that kind of thing is so integral to the success of foosball in any given region or area. We hear a lot about those kind of things, and we just love to hear it. I remember we were speaking of the Master Championships, they were talking about Jim Dumas doing something similar, maybe for different reasons, but still having people come in, train, play the foosball house down there in Florida. I know Trevor Park does something similar where he lives in Southern California. Eddie Foosters come by. Atkinson, his family stopped by there a couple of years ago, stayed there for a week or so, and it's just so integral for foosball in our fun little sport that it makes it so much better to have these areas.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of those stories. Even like just for a lot of people may not know, but I actually moved out to LA for a couple of years, and Jeep was the same way. He had tables down in his basement, and all he'd have the same thing, and all the Rick Hernandez, Brendan Flaherty, Stevens, just all those guys would be there every day playing. So he had the same thing. He just had every day. They're all over there. They played cards after that, and I was living with them for a while. So yeah, I had that experience out there as well.
What time
was
frame
in
that?
like the late. That was right around 70. Probably 78 and 79.
Wow.
I only remember 79. Me and Jeep, we won the California State 79 championships on tournament soccer. We beat Kenny Rivera and Dan Kaiser in the finals.
Wow.
And I was living with Jeep then, and we were playing 12, 13, 14 hours a day. Yeah. So it was in 78 and 79 around then.
I'm going to second Tom's wow. That's a good win.
Yeah. Dan Kaiser.
Yeah, it was. We were climbing the mountain. I mean, well, yeah, I got to, like I say, it was one of those things where we were at Jeep's house, and all the guys there, we just beat on each other all day long. Any one of us could have probably won as far as against each other. And, me and Jeep just played so much. And I actually won the 79 all San Francisco Goalie War tournament. And me and Jeep probably played 12 hours a day goalie war for months. And I played cheap for third place and beat him match ball. He could have beat me so easy, and he could have won the tournament. I mean, that's how. But it was just the fun and of like down in his gym, just playing each other every day, and it made us both so sharp. And like I say, if I wouldn't have beat him match ball and he beat me, he very well could have won the tournament as well. That was for third place when I played him. So, but yeah, there's a lot of those stories around the country. I know a lot of the guys do it. I hear from a lot of people. I know, Bowers and them used to do it back in, up in Denver, and a lot of the old players. But yeah,
That's
was how the sport
interesting.
evolved.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
it's
Han.
super cool that you're like, we just used to like play for like 12 hours a day and we had this little squad and like we just played and played and played. And that's so like it seems really odd because like, not everyone in the foosball world has had that opportunity, but it's like once you get to talking to people, it's really common to have, that situation. And I was doing it back when I was 12, 13, 14 and it was me and Daniel and Blake and my dad, and we played for hours. And we, during the summertime, we're all playing foosball, and it's weekend. Okay, we had school, but we're all going to meet up and play foosball for hours. Like what we're doing, what we're going to do, well, we're going to get up and we're going to go play. And that was like the only option, we would take breaks and go do whatever and, be kids. But that's something we just did so much. And, talking to people at foosball tournaments, they're like, yeah, I was in college and we had to have a foosball table. So I just slept under the foosball table in my mattress in college so I could have a table in my room and like all these like super fun stories. But you run into that and it's like, wow, that's a lot of time
Yeah,
spent on that table. And that's really what builds your game. So that's really cool that you had a chance to do that with someone like Jeep. That's awesome.
yeah, we had oh gosh darn it, my doorbell just for another foosball player. Oh, Gail's got it. Sorry if you heard the dog barking. Anyways, but yeah, no, and that I've heard that story too about people. As long as I got a foosball table, I'm sleeping under it in the bedroom. So I've heard that story before too from others. And it's fun. This is like where we came up from. But I got to at least say that to add to that, that back in the days in the late 70s, I mean, there was the tournaments, where they gave away 8 cars and one for super doubles. They had, the 30,000 for first. They had me and Kenny Allwell drew each other in 2-ball rollerball in that tournament, 79, I think it was. We won $2,000 for 2-ball rollerball draw. I mean,
Wow.
that just shows you how big it was and how worth it was to play 12 hours a day rather than we do it now. We really don't do it for all the money. We know there's not a lot of money in it. We wish there was more, but we do it because we love the game. We love the people. And, back then it was, like I say, I tell people, a lot of people who have never even won $3,000 in the tournament. Me and Jerry Knowles in that tournament for 7th place, we got $3,000 for 7th place,
Huh.
open doubles, and I got $500 for $7,000 for double sevens. Not to mention the Kenny Allwell draw, and I picked up a few more in the goalie war. So that's how big it used to be, and it was worth it to play, 10 to 12 hours a day. It's like now it's
Right.
kind of hard to give your whole life away for that. But I'm lucky I'm retired and I can just give it everything I got at least left in the tank, and I still love it and just happy to see everybody when I go to the tournaments.
Yeah, just a fun fact about Don here. If you guys don't know him at a foosball tournament, he is pure gold. This guy will walk up to me when I'm at, just won the biggest women's singles, yeah, or I just lost for whatever. And he's like, "Hey, honey, how you doing? Here, have some chocolate." And he has not cheap chocolate. He's got like Dove mint chocolate, like our favorites. And he has like 4 or 5 options, and he'll just walk up and just easily make your day with all this great assortment of chocolate. So just
Oh,
wanted to give you guys a little tidbit of my experience with Mr. Don, and it is pure gold. So I really, truly appreciate you doing that for all of us at the tournament, Mr. Don.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. You're one of my favorites. So,
Oh,
but yeah, it's rewarding. Like I say, just from hearing what Hannah just said, it just makes me like I just won the tournament. It's just rewarding to hear people respect not only me but each other. We all respect each other, and we get, like I say, we have some. I mean, for me, playing 50 years. Well, 75, so I'm just about my 50th anniversary for playing on tour, and
wow.
Geez, I mean, I have friends. There's so many old friends that I don't see, and all of a sudden they'll see me and go, "Don, how the heck are you still playing?" I'm gonna start playing again. I'm only 65. But
You're
I think it
proof.
really, to be honest with you guys, I think it's keeping me young. I mean, just to be able to play
Yeah.
with 25 and 30-year-olds and just, I know I'm on my feet all day. It's not the most physical sport, but I'll tell you what, when I won the world championships, you couldn't get near me. I was drenched in sweat. And
Mm.
so, I mean, it's physical, but like, it's just, the friendship is just makes it a win. When you see all your friends, you just feel like you won the tournament no matter how you did. And that's the part I love about it now, at my age.
Well, Don, it sounds like you bring this the same passion to your tournaments at Illinois State. What can we look forward to this coming weekend? What's in store for the players?
Well, of course, we're inducting Don Becker, one of the great legends from Chicago. We're inducting him into the Hall of Fame, and he was
Wow.
on the cover of the book that they helped Johnny Lott write the book years ago, and Johnny Lott and Jeep and Bill Calvin, a couple of the older guys, were sending me a video for Don to see. I probably shouldn't say it on the radio; it's going to be a surprise, but but
Wow.
we got a couple other things in store for him, as well as we're going to honor a few other people in some other ways. It's kind of a surprise also, but just I don't know. We're just happy to have it again and keeping it going and keeping it growing. And during it's to get back to the 10 years we came back when we started running it, we actually grew every single year from like 80 some registered players at the first one, 112 the next one, 132 the next one, 149 the next one. It kept growing and growing every year. So yeah, we're hoping to get right back into that growing pattern. Now that we missed a couple of years, and now this is going to be our second state back, so we're hoping that it's going to start growing back again. And the Midwest, and I mean, actually everywhere, it looks like people are just dying to play foosball. All the tournaments have been
Oh
very
yeah.
successful.
Yeah, they have
So I
been.
see a big comeback.
Yeah, I think foosball was always getting more and more and more, and then COVID happened, obviously. But I still think that the desire is there, and people like you out there carrying the torch, getting people back into it again, is really all that it's going to take. And as long as people keep doing things, whatever they can in their own capacity, I just love it, and I just love
Yeah,
the fact you're out there doing it. But you said something that really made my ears prick up was when you said that the venue was a bowling alley. Is that what you said?
yeah, it's a bowling alley / banquet hall. They we're kind of tight there, to be honest with you. But for all we've done for them, they do for us. We really, it's a no brainer. Then if we get much bigger, of course, we'd have to go to a hotel.
Right.
But the hotel, unfortunately, is not attached to it. But it's less than a half a block away. So you can walk
Oh,
to it if on a nice day. But
Oh, nice.
everybody offers rides back and forth. But besides all that, they give us so much that we kind of have to stay there. And we work with them. They're going to give us more again this year. Help us out with jackets and just little things like that.
yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's our regular. We play in the bar, and the bar is like offset from the actual bowling alley. So we have 5 tables in the bar that we play in weekly, a couple of weeklies, every, all the time, and that where we're going to put the 20 tables is going to be in the ballroom. It gets a little crowded in there. It's not the biggest ballroom, but we get it done, and everybody just has a great time, and everybody loves it. Just all the people get along pretty much. So I think that's just fun.
I love a hotel tournament just because I like the convenience of having the room there and the ballroom all in the same
Oh,
place.
100%.
But
I
but
agree.
but even more than that, even if it's an inconvenience, I love local spots, the local places like that you've got going on there, and it's a kind of vibe that just takes me back to what foosball, well, its roots, right? You just play in there in your local
True that.
arcade or whatever.
Yeah,
That's different.
the atmosphere. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like I say, it's just a win-win that so many people come in and they just get along, and we've been all supporting our Midwest people too, and they're all saying, "Oh, Don, we're all coming. You always come to ours, blah blah blah." And it's just nice to have that camaraderie from everybody.
Yeah.
And even with all the tournaments, I get upset when I can't go down to, anywhere. Louisiana State, I like to go down. I like to go to Denver all the time, or Texas. I just can't go to all of them. And oh boy, would I love to be able to, though. And so I mean, anybody who comes, we appreciate it. We know everybody can't go to all of them, and most foosball players like me, and especially like Hannah, she wants to go to every tournament, no matter where it's at.
That's right.
Real passion.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being in a bowling alley also. That I know for me that's where I got started playing foosball. That's the first time I ever saw, the competitive side of foosball. It was a really cool setting because, the teenage kids in the area at that time, that's where they were going to hang out. They were going to hang out at the bowling alley and their parents would drop them off, whatever on the weekends, eat some snacks, hang out, bowl. And then you had to walk by the foosball tables to get, to the bowling lanes, honestly. After you got your shoes, walk down the desk, there's the foosball tournament. So every week kids were coming in seeing this, and sometimes it was Daniel's friends or Blake's buddies, and they would come over and watch. But sometimes those guys got involved, and that's how Daniel and Blake kind of got in it, and that's and myself included. So that was a big staple in the Mississippi foosball scene, and it wouldn't have been that way if it was at a bar. So I think
you're
that's
100%
cool.
right. And
You have to have a place where kids can see it and be around it. It's harder to do that when you have to have a dad who plays it that can talk to somebody to get you into the bar versus, going to hang out with your friends. So that's really cool.
Well, that's the 100% right. And, for us, I mean, we picked up so many players that being that, like you said, they're in a bowling alley. They come into bowl and they go, "What's this? A foosball?" And we picked up actually Russell. Russell came in to shoot pool the first night he ever played foosball, and he saw us and he said, "Oh my God!" And he came. He's been here ever since. And we picked him up. And like you said, and a lot of younger players, 18, 19. Even some of them, maybe 19, just got, I played this in college a little, blah, 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 whatever. And yeah, at the bowling alley, there's a lot of youth that, that see the tables and they come by and they get involved. Where, like you said, in a bar, you just don't have them going to the bar, So we're in the bar, but we're right off the bowling alley. But they, it's kind of open. So, I mean, and kids come in the bar all the time. They just don't want them, right at the bar itself, they come by the tables and the games, there's games in there and stuff. So. But yeah,
sure.
it's definitely. I'm sorry, but I would say if anybody who's going to try to start running tournaments anywhere, I would highly recommend a bowling alley if they could work it out, with a bowling alley in comparison to just the bar.
I second that. And if you have it at a bowling alley and you have your locals on Thursdays or Friday, I think ours were Thursdays. After our real tournament, have a $2 winner take all or $5 winner take all beginner tournament and let them draw each other and figure it out. And even if they don't know the rules, just let them enjoy it. And if they win or if they lose to their best friend, it kind of like lights a fire to, I'm gonna go get with one of these guys that are actually playing and I want to, kind of figure this thing out. I'm coming back next Thursday for the $5 draw or whatever. And it can really be that simple. So I think that's really cool to have a tournament there, especially one like Illinois State, because you have big players there. I mean, who wouldn't want to walk in and even if I didn't know anything about foosball, you want to see Tony play foosball. You want to see Brandon Munoz play foosball. You want to see those big dogs play foosball, right? Like,
yeah, yes.
And that's so cool. So I think that's super cool about this tournament. I can't wait to hear how it goes.
Well, we're excited. I hope it goes well. I'm sure it's going to go well. It's looking really good. And like I say, it's just like it's the fun part. And it's add to what you just said was that we actually have some of the new players that had stopped by and started throwing the ball around with us a little bit and going, "Are you sure the top player in the world is going to be here?" Like they were all this last week. He's going to be here. Trust me. So yeah, they're like you say, they get that little bit of fire under them, and next thing you know, boom, they're there with us. So we're excited again. Yeah.
So Don, just a quick question there. We've had a lot of promoters on FoosWeek and Foos Talk Live. One of my favorite questions is, if let's say, aside from the venue, what would you tell someone who's just starting out in the promotion business for foosball? What would be the first thing that you'd want them to do? What would be the first piece of advice you give them?
Oh, probably most likely what's kind of wore on me through the years is how sometimes you get a pro that doesn't treat a brand new player the right way and they draw them in the draw. And that kind of wore on me a little bit. And, I had a little colon problem years ago and had a little bit of taken out of my colon. Thank God I'm fine now. But when I was in the hospital for a few months, I called the rookies I'd been working with to come back. And I go, "Where you guys? I'm out of the hospital. Are you guys coming to come back?" And then somebody treated one of them wrong. So then what right do you have played in my tournament? And I felt horrible that they said to a brand new player that. So then from that point on, for about 5 or 6 years, every draw, I would say, this is a new player. I'd ask everybody in the draw, do you mind if I draw him as a partner? Just so I could, just treat them right and tell them, how good they can be, and tell them how important it is to not worry about that they're brand new and they're messing up. More, just, are you having fun? I just keep asking them, are you having fun? That's the most important thing. So that's probably what I would say would be the number one thing I would tell a newer promoter, to really treat the new players the
Yes.
best they can. And I also tell all of our nation, every time we get a new player, I take a timeout at the end. And I asked him in front of all our players, how did you like it? He goes, you guys were so much fun. You treated me so great. And I said, did you hear that, everybody? We all just won the tournament, because here we have a brand new player that said we was treated so great. He's coming back and he loved it. So that's probably the number one thing I would tell a new promoter to be kind of try to stay on top of,
Very cool.
There's a lot of other things too, but that's just a little thing that for
That's
me
the
is
best.
kind of important.
Don, listening to you talk, what I really like about what I'm hearing is that you often describe success and winning as a we, not as something you've done. That's like the second time you've said that, at least, where there's been a universal accomplishment within the group of people you work within, and that is a win for you. And I love that. And I think that kind of concept is something that I wish permeated. Let me rephrase. That's not. I hope for that to permeate in foosball as much as possible, because I love that. That's a great feeling, and it's a great concept, and it just comes so naturally from you that it's no wonder you've got such a great thriving base going on there. And that was my question, was what is the Illinois scene like? What kind of out of state people do you expect this weekend?
Well, we get, excuse me, we got a big crowd always comes from Wisconsin, because we're neighbor states and we've been supporting each other for years. And then the Michigan and Minnesota, they all support us, and St. Louis and all the way down to Kentucky, and even in Ohio, we got a bunch of players from Ohio coming. Dusty and them come all the time. And then, like I say, it's just we got a pretty good support system from the Midwest alone. But just in general, being in Chicago, I'm lucky. We're lucky that we have so many people to like draw from, where, we have a lot of players around the country I love dearly that, they have a little place where they get sometimes they have a hard time getting 4 players in there, and we're so lucky to have such a big city. They have so many to draw from. So that's a little advantage of, people, promoters in big cities, at least they have the start of a lot of people that, to draw from. So that's one thing that, is pretty good about Chicago and Illinois. And like I say, we're so close to Milwaukee. We're like really. Oh, did I lose you?
No, we're here. We can hear you.
We got you.
You're
Yeah.
good.
Okay, my phone was flashing again. But yeah. Anyways, but yeah, we would. And then like a lot of like I say, a lot of the top players, they're current and they're just like they got time. They come. There's a lot of people coming. I was surprised to hear we're coming. There's a lot of people coming that I knew. Of course, Tony's always there and stuff. But yeah, and a bunch of them from St. Louis coming, and Jessica and Shane and all of them coming. Shelly is coming from Denver. I'm sure. Just there's so many people. I could go on and on and on mentioning names. But Tracy Brubaker usually comes sometimes with her kid and her hubby, and but either way, we get a pretty good draw from around the country. And like I know we're not that close, and foosball is not that big, and it's hard to say we're going to get a bunch of California players or a bunch of Texas players, but we get our share, and like I say, we have a good support system. So, and I try to support everybody's tournaments as much as I can. I put them on the list of the ones that I haven't been to that I have to go to. So those are like my focal points. But yeah, everything's good so far. And like I say, we're hoping for a great weekend this weekend with the weather and everything.
Awesome. I think we're going to start wrapping up here with you, Don, so we can move on with Mike and hear what he had to say about Florida State. But we're going to do a last little round of questions here, and we'll start with Hannah.
So here's some things I've kind of wanted to get out about Illinois and about you, Mr. Don. So I think at Vegas, I was asking someone about Illinois State. I was like, it's coming up, do you really plan to go there? And they were like, no, I'm not going to be able to make it this year. But man, I am really upset I'm not going to be able to make it this year because it is such a great tournament. So that is that's that's coming from someone I think a lot of. And I said, really, wow, I'm gonna have to try to make it the next year. And they're like, yeah, it's totally amazing. The scene is great. The players are great. It's just a great time. So I know you're doing something right with in regard to running your tournament. And I think it has a lot to do with like top down leadership. You were mentioning like we won whenever we have a new beginner and everyone came in and everything was really smooth. Like we won, like Adam mentioned, that's a really cool mindset to have. And I think you create those foosball scenes when you have a leader like yourself who can take that and think that way instead of, oh, how much money are we going to make? Or are we going to cover this? Or what are the payouts? Or, whatever. So I think that's really special, Mr. Don.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Of course. And, for you that don't know, you mentioned, oh, that keeps me young or whatever. You are young. Okay. This guy at Worlds was literally was on the top of a ladder. Okay. And I don't mean just like safely climb the ladder, like hangs the banner right here. He's like got the ladder going this way, can't quite reach the wall to get it. He's like hanging off with like one hand, like fixing the banner. I'm like, Mr. Don, what's going on? And he's just like, yeah, just hold the ladder. And I'm just like, oh my God, So I know you do a lot.
Well, like I tell the wife, I said, if anything ever happens, honey, and if something happens bad at a foosball tournament, just bury me with my 2-row rod. Because I'm doing what I love to do.
That's it. And you can tell, and literally by everything you do. So I think a whole lot about you. And I think a lot of the Illinois crew, one of my first women's partners was from Illinois, Amy Ware. Like I said, I just have nothing but good things to say about you and the crew. And I think you're doing a great job. I know the tournament's going to be really, really amazing.
Well, thank you, Hannah. I appreciate all your kind words. And like you say, you're a great representative as well for the sport. You do a lot of great things, and people talk highly of you as well all the time. So, but thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Of course, thank you,
Tom.
And Don, I have to say that it's great that we get a chance to speak again. I know the first time we actually met in person was last year at Michigan State. And I was so sad we didn't get a chance to sit down and do an episode of Foos Talk Live there. But you know what? The door is always open. So my last question to you is, so what do you see for yourself in the next 5 years when it comes to Illinois State?
Well, for me, I'm just at my age, I'm just making sure that something ever happens, that foosball is going to carry on. I got, some guys I've been working with for a while. They're just incredible. Like John McDermott, he's just unbelievable. His dedication and the sport will be in good hands if I ever happen to not be around. And then we got Tom Kelly, who's been running the show down at the Emporium. He's just doing a great job as well. He's dedicated, put a lot into it. Unfortunately, we lost Rich Shepard a few years back. He was running the Emporium. He was just amazing and loved by all, and he was just all in and all dedicated. And so we have those guys now also. So for me, the next 5 years, I don't know. I don't mind getting beat up, but I'm getting a little bit sore at times. But I'm going to keep going. Like I say, let's say years ago, I ran into one of my old dear Warrior friends, Steve Morey from out west in the Northwest, and he saw me. He goes, Don, you set the tournament up for 3 or 4 days. You play off 5, 6 days, then you tear it down. How in the world? I go, let me tell you, bro, when I get home, I am so sore. But once again, it's a happy sore. I did it again. And what am I going to do if I don't? Just sit in a rocking chair, shrivel up? No, I'm going to keep trying as long as I can.
I love that. One quick question for you, Don, before I give you the floor for any last words you want to give us. I had some people message me when they saw that you were going to be the guest tonight, asking where they can watch this weekend. I think there's some interest, I guess, with it being Tony's last tournament here for a while, and so on. So is it being streamed, or is there anywhere that people can watch the
Yes, we're setting that up. John McDermott, he's actually going to work with Roman, who does a lot of things for the Wisconsin food scene, and is going to help set us up with the streaming and all that. So yeah, we're going to to stream it. We're working on making sure we got that.
Nice.
We had to do some double checking because a few years back they didn't have enough bandwidth, which I don't know nothing about that kind of stuff. But now I guess everything's good according to Mary and other things. So
Cool.
yeah, it looks like we'll be streaming it, and I'll put it all out there as soon as I know exactly
Okay.
where, how, or what. Not know it'll work.
And we'll make sure we boost that here on Foosball Radio to let people know where to watch it because, well, I want to watch it too, and everybody wants to watch it. But yeah, Don, I appreciate the time. I appreciate your passion, your heart, and the fact that you go home and even though you're sore, it's a happy sore. That's. I think we could all learn from that. But any last words for us?
Well, I got a few things that. Yeah, there are a few things. For first off, I just want to make sure I thank you guys for all you do and everybody here on the board there and the panel here that, you're all this is your dedication for Foosball. We love it. You mean a lot to all of us. So I want to thank you for that. And geez, there's probably a million people I wanted to thank. But one thing I just wanted to add was if you wanted me to ever do another interview, you can't have Mike Green on the show. He beat me in the final one. I don't know if I could talk to him.
We let you go first, though.
Me and Mike are warriors, and God bless him. He knows I love him, and I love Mike. He's the best. So, can't wait to see all you guys again, and I really appreciate you having me on. And like I say, best wishes, and I'll be happy to join you. I'll look for you, Tom. Of course, the next one if I got time. Of course, I'll jump in the box for a bit.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
All right, buddy.
All right, Don. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. Have a good luck this weekend.
You too. And thanks to you all for you. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it.
All right. Good luck this weekend, Don.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Don Chalifoux, everybody.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Take care, Don.
Wow. I love that. I love hearing that. I love hearing the passion about foosball. It's very heartening. I don't care what age you are. That's good stuff. Oh, I meant to call him Mr. Don. I love that you call him Mr. Don. I'm going to say thank you, Mr. Don.
I've known him for so long. And like the first time I met him, I was probably like 12. And, he's always been Mr. Don to me. So it's just like, thanks, Mr. Don. Thanks for my chocolate or whatever.
That's awesome.
He's great.
That's awesome.
There are a few people that I've come across that have that kind of positive attitude and just energy to really pursue this and do it right. Man, that's a great example.
It is.
It's wholesome.
Everybody.
It's wholesome.
Yeah,
it's wholesome.
It is.
It's wholesome. Well, let us move on to our next guest, who I believe I see he has unmuted himself. Hall of Famer Mike Green. Mike.
What's going on, everyone?
How you doing, sir?
What's up, Mike?
I'm absolutely living the dream for sure. Life is good.
That's awesome.
Did you find a spot for that new plaque you got, that Hall of Fame plaque you've got now? Is that up with all the other trophies?
Yeah. I mean, actually, my wife took it because I probably would have lost it before I got home. I lose everything, but anyhow. But yeah, it was a crazy long weekend. Adam can tell you for sure.
I was there. I watched. I saw. I listened. So wait a minute. You got a jacket too, though, right?
Right.
It's a classic
I
looking
want
jacket.
to say something. One real quick thing about Don before I forget.
Heck
I
yeah.
will. I went to the Chicago tournament. My old buddy and partner Chad Hansen went into their Hall of Fame about maybe 5 years ago. And anybody on the fence about going to this tournament at the bowling alley definitely has to go. It is a blast, and everybody does something. We're all playing pool. We're bowling. Everybody's gambling, doing whatever bowling, and just Don is just such a class act that he makes everything worthwhile, and everybody has a great time. So anyway, so yeah, I do. I have a jacket, and I got the trophy, and somebody said that we're getting a ring. I'm not sure about
Getting a ring,
but
wow. Did you get your own parking spot too?
Somebody says you guys should get free entries in every term for us. Like, yeah, like that's gonna happen. But yeah.
that might work like the first year, but 10 years from now when they got 30, 40 people clamoring for
Mm-hmm.
You never know. But anyway, so I want to just everybody's just asking questions, but I just got to ask you, like, how you doing after this weekend?
Oh, it was brutal. I mean, it was so much fun though. I mean, for me, because, honestly, like I was telling my wife, I mean, I had no choice, obviously, in who got picked, but it was a weird thing because, I mean, I really felt unworthy as far as my idols of the game that, played. But, the guys who pick know what they know, right? And I just happened to come back a couple of years ago and start playing again. But just some of the masters and just some of the guys from the TS days. And, I always say my favorite player, Dwayne Pratt, he was my mentor, talked me into playing goalie and told me I'd win a world championship someday if I did. But the whole thing was, I honestly was shocked when they told me, and it really didn't hit me too much until I kind of got up on the stage and started looking around and seeing all these faces of people I know. It was something else.
It was pretty crowded during the ceremony.
Yeah, I saw a few pictures of it. It looked like people stayed around. They were interested. That's great. I think that's what Hall of Famers deserve. I think that's what anybody deserves if you're gonna, be that at a tournament. So that's really, really cool. And I think you deserve it just as much as anyone else, Mike. Don't cut yourself short. You know what I mean? But I think you're right in there with the greats of Florida, and well deserved. And congratulations again on your Hall of Fame induction. That's super cool.
Thank you. I guess one of the other, obviously, I mean, to me, the coolest thing of all was that I got to introduce Jim Dumas. I mean, I told the story there that the guy started out, he wanted to sponsor us, bring to this 1,800 square foot house, and our job was to play foosball. And honestly, like I said there, I thought the guy was a scammer. I'm like, who's bringing a bunch of misfits to a house to play foosball, right? But anyway, like I said there, he not only was my sponsor, he just became my best friend. And actually, my coach, he was awesome. I mean, he was like, he knew me better than anybody. When I'd get in my stubborn mood, he'd call me to the side during a match and just say, "What are you doing? You da 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 da." And he was just always there. Never met a guy who loved foosball so much. He sponsored Horton to the 81 Worlds. Horton wins 5,000, they get nothing. Bankruptcy. So didn't even slow him down. He didn't even blink. The guy just, after all these years, even he's very responsible for South Florida foosball. Tommy Brewer actually went to him, saw him playing and said, "Hey, I just want to beat my girlfriend. Can you teach me?" And that's how him and Dana got involved, So, yeah, there was a lot going on there. It was a lot of fun.
So, Mike, I'm curious. Has Jim had a chance to listen to the stories that Johnny and you were telling about those early days? What did Jim think of that, and would he ever be interested in also talking about those days?
Yeah, I'm sure he would. But Jim was in the middle of those stories,
Yes.
He gave us the house to live in, but I remember after 2 weeks he looked at us and he goes, "Where were you guys raised? Did you have families? Or did they just throw you out like feral cats?" I mean, like, 'cause we were, I don't know what we were. We were definitely, just came out of the duck blind or catching a bass. And next thing you know, we're in Fort Lauderdale and we're doing this thing that I don't even understand. Like why is this guy paying? To me, it was just a game I always played and loved. I didn't really ever think would come to that point, and we were so broke it wouldn't have came to that point because we never would have been able to go. So that's pretty awesome.
Mike, I want to go back to something you just said a little bit ago. So I'm standing up there on stage. I was very honored to get to MC that whole thing. I'm standing up there. We did the whole intro of this. We brought in Jim and then Horton, and then does your induction and brings you up, and you stand there and you get the mic and you're looking at all these people, and 35 plus years maybe flash before your eyes.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was standing there and it all, even though it's like 2 seconds, it seems like 2 days, it just hit me because there was a couple guys, John Ebanks, one of the first few black actually masters to ever play the game. He was incredible. Him and Johnny ran around together back in the day, and he actually went to a tournament in Alabama and beat Wiswell in the finals of singles.
Wiswell.
And this is the guy nobody will never hear of, And I've said this on the show before, like Danny Melrose, the guy was Florida foosball. He had a place called Stud's Food Shop, the Golden Keg. The guy sponsored people, sold merchandise. So I was thinking about those guys, of course, and then, of course, then I was thinking about my friends, older, when I started playing and getting pretty good. And, it really hit me that how many weren't there anymore, they're not with us anymore. It's not, and like Johnny wasn't there because he's sick. My buddy Carl Miller, who's a world champion, he's not there because he's got a lot of health issues going on. And it wasn't like a bummer kind of thing because we had spent so many good years together that it's, but it was a bummer, but not in, didn't throw me totally off, but, I was just thinking about like what Johnny said, and I didn't really get a chance to say it there because, to be honest, sometimes you get a little sidetracked talking on stages. But when I told Johnny, he broke down and cried and was like, "Man, that's my roots. I can't be there. That's my people." And he wasn't talking about me, Star, or anybody that hunt. He was talking about the guys, the rookies, the amateurs. The just the friends and like Don was saying, there's a guy, Mike Washburn from Michigan, came to Florida one time. We got 20 people in a little apartment, and he's sleeping on the foosball table. That's the only place when we were playing matches. The guy would never wake up, so we finally put him he was on a couch, and we told him not to get on the couch. We moved him to the parking lot and put him by the trash can. He's still sleeping, just crazy times and all that crazy stuff is, it's kind of going through your head. And then I was looking around, and I even said, foosball just has such an insane history. How do I even start talking about, the few things that I did in it, and I'm like looking at, Blake, Tony, these guys. And of course I said, and it's not like we're not leaving in good hands, look at these guys. But then even like the future, I'm seeing, Jacob Balco's and Stanley's. I don't know how to say Stanley's last name, Pulaski or whatever.
Oh yeah, Sherwin and Luis and
Yeah.
Stan. Yeah.
And, it was just so weird for me because I'm like thinking from guys, from the 70s, always looking at those kids smiling at me because I love Stanley's older kid because we really get a lot of time to hang out together. But yeah, I mean, like it was just, it was funny. It really hit me at that point, obviously. To be honest, I didn't feel a whole lot of anything until I started thinking about all those things. And I even got to a point where I was like, am I talking? Because I'm talking and thinking these things. And of course, I won't say me and Adam sat down and had a, greatest and, whatever. And sorry, but greatest worst win or whatever. And anyway, it was just funny because I won't get into it, but he knows how much family means to me. And my wife was standing there, and my wife of 27 years, who I adore. We love each other to death, and she always tells me I can go anywhere I want as long as she don't have to go there to a foosball tournament. And I said, you don't have to go to this. She said, shut up. How can I not go to this? But yeah, anyway, so that was probably to me like the coolest part. I'll be honest with you. She was there because we met. We knew each other. We were 15 playing foosball, so that's how we met. So, anyway,
let me just fill in a blank before I think like Hannah had a question, but we did a My Greatest. Mike and I did a My Greatest, which I think most people that are watching this probably know what a My Greatest is now. Hannah, you've done one. Tommy Atkinson, Sullivan Rue, a few other people that it hasn't been released yet. And we did one this weekend, and I'm really excited for people to hear the one that Mike and I did, because it really does this nice bookend for what we're talking about right now. But it's not just foosball, it's family, it's drive, it's competition, it's so many different other things, as these things tend to be for whatever reason. But I love it. It's just awesome. So anyways, yeah, look for that here in the next month or two. Hannah?
Mike, I guess this is a kind of weird way to say things, but for me as a younger player getting into the game, whenever I first came back, people were getting inducted and I had no idea who they were. And I was like, don't really know them. Okay, next. But the more that I've played foosball, and that was when I was 12 and 13. Well, when I came back to foosball at like 22, I was so much more intrigued by the players that were getting inducted to these Hall of Fames. So, I like to go back and check in on them, or, see, like, ask people at the tournament that are their age group, or they're introducing them, like, hey, what was so and so like back in his day, because players that are in the now don't always get to see that. So this might be a little not said so well, but I feel like a lot of members that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame and are inducted into the Hall of Fame miss getting inducted at the right time. It's kind of like they missed their prime. You know what I mean? Like, say we caught Johnny Horton 4 years ago and inducted him then. That would have been, that would have been different. Or some people pass away and we don't get to induct them in time, and we have to do it, after they're passed away. Like, I feel like maybe we could lower the age of getting members inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I know that's kind of lame, because it's like, oh no, it's a Hall of Fame, you have to be so year old. And I'm not saying induct them when they're 20. I'm saying, 40 or 30 late, whatever. It's just that I feel like we miss a lot of good content, and players don't get to speak to their crowd, I guess, is maybe what I'm meaning to say. So it's really cool that you did. You played back in the day, you took a break, okay, you came back. Well, you're playing again and you're competing again. You're getting, top 5 open doubles. I think I saw, wink, wink, congrats. But, like, that's awesome. Like, it's not like you're coming back and getting tanked out in nothing and like you're not competitive. You're right there in top 5 open doubles, and you get to, come back and get to be inducted. And I think the timing was just really perfect for you. And you deserve that. And I think everyone deserves that. But I feel like sometimes we're just a little bit too late grabbing these people and put them into the Hall of Fame. So I'm really excited that it worked out, like, for you, how I believe it's supposed to work out.
I appreciate that. And, I get a lot of grief because one of the first things I talked to Tommy Brewer about was like, listen, I'm not going to come in and try to run your Hall of Fame thing now that I'm in, but, guy, you got to let me put a couple guys in. They're probably never even going to show up. And let me tell their story. They may not even be alive anymore, but how important they were to the game. Because, who the heck starts when you got 70s Masters winning world titles all the way through today, and you start the Hall of Fame in 2023? It just, and unfortunately Bob never was his thing, I don't think. And, and I understand why. And, I look back, and a lot of times the thing that bugs me the most is when they started, I always thought it was going to be like a TS player, a Dynamo player, a Tornado player, maybe a vendor, and that could be male or female, obviously. And, I could just go on for days about the TS players. And I actually have a foosball room called Dynamo Foosball, the Forgotten Era. It's
Really?
like we don't exist, because they'd love to tell the stories of everybody that played TS quit. No, they didn't. Bauer, Spear, Lafredo, all those guys were still playing. They just weren't winning, and I hope I'm not bitching, because, that's kind of a sore spot for me that, like you said, there's guys who, like, I always say, what are we, 2 generations away from people forgetting who we are, including our family, Who
Sure.
remembers their great grandfather, unless you're from the South, where you have kids at 15, but,
Easy.
like my mom did.
No,
But,
just kidding.
but
But
it's,
no,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're right on. I'm not meaning to interrupt you, but I definitely agree with that. Maybe in the future we could do like because there's so much in Florida foosball that has to get into the Hall of Fame. They just have to. Bottom line, you know what I mean? And so I definitely agree with your statement there. But maybe they could do like a current, retired, and then like like TS, like 1, 2, 3, like one from each little category, like per year, or whatever, multiple. But something like that to keep it kind of evolving with the generation playing a bit more. Because that's just special to me. I think everybody deserves their time to shine, and I don't want you to shine too late,
Right.
So, I think there's so much talent that you're definitely going to run into that, especially just starting this in 2023. So yeah, that's just my little 2 cents about it.
No, I totally agree 100%. I just think 3 was not enough.
Sure.
That was my opinion. I mean, the first one, I'm not telling them how to run their business, but, you maybe put 6 in the beginning, and then have, like you said, maybe a couple old schoolers that, like my mentor, Dwayne Pratt and Jim Lanieri, TS Masters, or his wife was a TS female master, Maggie Lanieri. but they're gone, so they're not going to show up anyway. So, have that opportunity, just give them a couple words and move on. I think one of the problems is that people get up there, and you can ask Adam, as we went pretty quick through the whole thing, because nobody wants to sit there and hear about all your accomplishments, not in that setting. So you can't go an hour and 15, 20 minutes doing a Hall of Fame. For God's sake, I don't know if you're in it, you want to leave, I mean, so.
Sure. And for me, when I watch a Hall of Fame ceremony, I don't really care that you won pro doubles or open doubles in 1922. I don't care. I want you to tell me some wholesome content about this guy. What did he do for foosball? What makes him a Hall of Famer? Ton. Okay, and a win is a win, and I'm not taking any wins away from anyone. I think that's amazing. But I want you to tell me something that I can't look up, if that makes sense. I wanna know the content. I guess.
And I think we're speaking to what is the year 2023. Actually, we're probably really speaking to the year maybe 2014. But when we do a Hall of Fame ceremony and we have 2 or 3 people inducted and keep it under 15 minutes, I think that's great. Even though we might not know the whole story of each one of these people outside of what might be on a pamphlet, we do have the technological ability to do this, or have podcasts, or have addendums, and have different things that people, if they want to know and should know,
Right.
as we continue to archive our game and our sport, is to have that opportunity. And one of the things that I felt comfortable when they asked me to MC, I was like, yeah, you want this under 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, we can do that. It's going to be short, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, if tops, for the speeches, right? But Mike, you and I have chatted a lot with Tom, and also with Horton, about that time frame. We haven't spoken to Jim, obviously, in this format, but a lot of that history and that background exists to the point where I felt comfortable with the context of how come what you guys did was so important already exists out there. You don't need that kind of thing. And I think I would really I would love to get a Hall of Fame GoFundMe going, like a countrywide Hall of Fame, not just for just like the countrywide, they do in Vegas, or the one that each, the states do individually, but and be like, just fly me there. Let me talk to people for an hour. Let's get their story out there. It could be the Hall of Fame series or whatever. It doesn't matter. We're going to honor them, but also archive it and have it, because nobody's going to listen. Let's be honest. People don't listen to that. They just smile politely at these tournaments, right? Unless it's short and sweet and you want to move on, but hope there's some kind of addendum somewhere.
Well, for me, one of the things that really got me, of course, you hear all the people going, what about, right? What about this guy? What about that guy? And I was in the bar having a beer, and somebody was in there, we were talking, and I said, you guys know what a 20-year overnight sensation is? And so, Tom knows.
I do.
You work your rear end off for 20 years to get known, or whatever.
Yes.
And I said, you guys think Bob Diaz was born a master? No. Bob took his licks since he was 16, losing his money to us, beating him like a drum, giving him no mercy. Liv Hill, he lived there 14 years old, and she got mad at me. She said I was mean to her. I go, no, I treated you like a player because you were a player.
Right.
And so all these guys have these visions of who should be in, and I get it, because they said Jim Dumas. Who the heck is Jim Dumas? Who was Mike Green before foosball radio? Like Adam was just saying. And I got on foosball radio. I got inducted because Adam Torres talked to me, and I went to some stupid Thunderdome thing. I didn't even know what it was. And I go down there, and it's a $20,000 expert term, and I wound up winning $2,000 for third place overall. Hadn't touched the table in 25 years, and I also, I got to say that I blame Jim Stevens for that, because he used to make the remark that a world champion back then couldn't win an expert event today, and I'm like, well, we're going to find out that. Okay, so.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of lit a fire under my rear end a little bit, but anyway, I get it, and I've said myself, dude, that guy goes in before this guy, and we all do it, right? So it wasn't like I was upset about it, but like I said, you're a couple generations away from people having no idea who you are in your own family. So how are these guys going to get excited about something they don't know?
Wow, that was very true. What you just said about that.
And I think it's even shorter in smaller communities.
Oh, I like that.
You know,
Yeah.
Mississippi foosball. Okay, we did a Hall of Fame. Well, Bobby Sims got inducted. Well, you know, my dad knew Bobby Sims because he played with him, and I knew Bobby Sims kinda. Like I knew who he was, what he looked like. He's always been nice, but that was 15 years ago. You know, for Bracklin's like, who is Bobby Sims? I don't know this guy, and I was like, yeah. Why would you? We don't have a local tournament. You know, we have 1 or 2 Mississippi States here and there, and why would Bobby come back and do this? You know, it's like he hasn't played him forever. And but to me, that meant something. To Bracklin, he didn't have a clue. And it's like that's how fast turnover could be in that even such a small community. So I think the smaller community you have, it's even more important to get those players in sooner. But I definitely agree with the generational thing. You know, 2 generations, that's really about all you got. And that's maxing, I think. So cool idea, cool aspect to think about, but it's I think it's really true.
Well, yeah. I mean, Tom, did you want to say something? I feel like I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine. Go for it. No, this is your time.
You know, like I know everybody's like, why Jim Dumas? Well, guess what? Jim Dumas gave us an 1,800 square foot house where sometimes we'd have 25 people living with us. We're
Wow.
talking world champions. You know, every champion you can think of in the world is living there and hanging out and playing foosball for months. You know, the guy sponsors 27 people to the world championships. He put up all the cash for the striker tables that Lot built for the striker union tour. And we just traveled the country. We were getting ready to go to Europe for 8 weeks or 6 weeks when, you know, Dynamo went under. So the guy was just, and all he wanted was foosball, to learn how to play foosball and win a tournament. And he finally won at Georgia State, and the guy just won $1 billion, you know. I won my money for the Worlds, and he wouldn't take it. He says, you earned it. It's your money. I don't want it. Because I would even go collect my money. I said, that ain't my money. I couldn't possibly pay you back. But at the Worlds when I won, he said, no, go get your money. It's yours, you know. So
Wow.
I love that guy, man, you know.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's why Jim Dumas, for all the ones out there to ask that question. You know, of course, Horton's Horton. You know, I kind of told Adam this. You know, and I love it because if anybody hasn't listened to the My Greatest with Tommy Atkinson, that's an awesome one. And you know, like he said, like I'll say, you don't know the Johnny we know, you know. And believe me, you know, I quit playing foosball with him because I didn't want to deal with him, you know. And Johnny was a young, skinny kid who got bullied, you know, and he found something that people couldn't bully him. And unfortunately, he kind of became the bully instead of, you know, just kind of saying, okay, I found something I'm good at. And, you know, I know how it feels. I wouldn't do this to somebody else. And people get mad because of how blunt I talk about Johnny. But guess what? Who cares? He's my buddy since I was 13. He'll say things about me that people go, my gosh, you talk about Mike like that, you know. But and I'd fly up there this second if he needed me, you know. And it is what it is. He's having some bad times. I love the guy, so where we're at with that.
One of the things that you've been mentioning, especially about the support system with friends and family supporting your passion with foosball and also participating with you. Where would you be without that support system, right?
Oh, I would still be sitting in my little town in Bradenton out at my buddy's lake, 20-acre lake, catching bass and seeing if we can shoot something. I would have never been able to do all the things I've done. I mean, I was heartbroken because I was actually sponsored to go to the 81 Worlds as a rookie. One of the guys around town, he's like, Mike, you're as good as these guys. Here's the money. Well, he never came through. My mom, I was devastated. My mom said, here, honey, you know, here's $500, which was a lot of money back then, you know.
Yeah.
Benitez and my old friend Chris Starcheski started driving to Chicago. So my mom put me in my first major tournament.
Wow.
So, yeah, family and friends for sure. Of course, she put me in a poker tournament. She won 28,000 later on. So happy.
She won 28
really?
grand off of you?
Yeah.
Wow. Tell us more about that.
Oh, if you heard Don talk about playing cards, 70s and 80s, that's all we did. All we did was play cards, and we were playing Texas Hold'em back then. All the games people play now. Well, when Moneymaker became the world champion in 2002 or whatever, it got really popular. And unfortunately for the people, guys like us, poker's not a game of who's got the best cards. It's like not the most talented player on the table, but who can handle the pressure and the skill and do the things to win.
Right.
And so a lot of people came back and had no idea how to bet. So they're like, all in, you got
Right.
aces, okay. But anyway, so go ahead.
I'm just saying, for anybody who's wondering, you're talking about Chris Moneymaker, who in 2003 won the World Poker Tournament, what have you thing, and he was like, he got that through Poker Stars, so it was like he wasn't even a pro, he just came in through the online regiment, right?
Yeah, it cost him like $5 to actually get in the event. He wanted to win on like $5 million or what it was. But so anyway, I'll make it short about the poker thing. But so I won in 2007 when I started playing again. I locally won over 80,000 just playing the local tournaments there, and the biggest win I had was like 28,500. But so anyway, we'll get off the poker thing. But
no, I think it's a what we call the hidden gem.
Yeah,
something we didn't know about you, Mike.
Well, here, I'll tell you a story I'm not proud of. I went to California. I just won the Worlds with Horton, and the guy out there sponsored me and Tony Bacon to play together, and Larry Chesbro Benitez, and all my buddies are there. It's a $5,000. They're all sponsored, so we're flying out to California for a $5,000 tournament. The guy had a banner made up. This is not bragging, so please don't think I am, because I'm still disgusted with myself. But we sat down, and in the first hand, I won 1,200 in the first hand, and we never made it to the guy's tournament. I actually woke up, and I go, hey, we got to get to the tournament. And they go, Ricky and Larry snuck out of here a long time ago. They're in the finals.
Wow.
So we went back and gave the guy all of our money. We paid for, all the money he spent, and it was horrible, but it was crazy back then. I mean, if you could play in a $5,000 tournament, you win 1,200 in the first hand, you kind of forget what else is going on around you. So yes, I know. If that look is deserving, it's like horrible we did what we did, but at least we made it up to him cash wise.
Guess I've got a foosball question for you. So played back in the day, took a break. Hear Jim Stevens say it: world champions then can't compete with experts now. Have a little something to prove. Can you kind of talk me through what that's like? Hearing somebody say that, using that as your fire, and then saying, you know what, I think I'm going to go to this tournament, for however much $1,000, and then walk me through what it was like leading up to that, because I'm just making the assumption that the game has changed quite a bit since the previous time you played competitively. So how did you prepare? What were your thoughts leading up to that? Did you play locally before, or what was the journey back?
No, I really played maybe 5 local tournaments that whole time. I would show up at tournaments all the time and basically have beers with friends. But it was like, even I'll go back real quick to when we won the world championships. We had a game plan. We would sit around and talk about, who you had to beat to win, da 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 da. So of course, my first thing now was I said, okay, who's one of my best friends that's awesome? Oh, I'm going to call Tom Yor. So I called Tom Yor and I said, I need you to practice with me. I only have 6 weeks, and then I'm going to this Thunderdome tournament. And he's like, what's a Thunderdome? And I told him, and he's like, okay. He goes, sure, no problem, because me and Tom, people don't know. I'll say this real kind of funny. Me and Tom's first tournament ever was 1990 Masters, and we just played 2023 Masters. So, like 33 years later, we mastered, and then we played again. But so anyway, I believe, first of all, it's changed. The game hasn't changed a lot. There's a snake shot. There's only so many holes to hit. I mean, and I'm not saying I blocked the snake. I'm just saying, but as far as the game itself goes, you got straight, middle, long, maybe 3/4, whatever, But as a goalie, it really hasn't changed much at all, except, you have to learn how to block a snake. And when I say a goalie, I'm one of those guys that I'd never touch forward rods ever. I don't want to touch them. You can't convince me to touch them. I'm a goalie. And my mindset is, as I've said on the show before, I go in, just my first thought is I got to outplay my other goalie. If I outplay the other goalie, then it's the forward's fault because I've done my job, and Tom was just telling me certain things because I'm 40 years later, believe it or not, in your mind, or 30 something, the muscle, reaction time, I'm still going to the dynamo hole, without even thinking about it because it was a smaller hole. And I go, how do these people keep scoring on me, Tom? He's like, because your hands immediately go to that dynamo hole and it's not far enough, and he says it's 10,000 hours to break one bad habit, but do what you got to do. So we did all. He was awesome. We played every week. We started winning almost every local tournaments, getting seconds and all the locals with all the big dogs hanging out, and so I knew I was ready at that point, and that's kind of how it went.
It's really cool that you could have a buddy just like Tom. Hey, you want to come help? Like literally, Tom, you're
Master.
But I think that's what the greats from back in the day have. They have those connections, and some are still playing. Great, get back in it, and it doesn't take very long to knock off some dust and get back into a competitive scene. So that's really really a cool setup that you have. I wish more players, even players that are just getting into the sport, had masters that they could rely on like that to train them because you know how good a kid's going to get, but if they have a master teaching them early on, they can catch up quick. And initially the master's like, I'm going to help them beat the experts, or help them do whatever. Maybe place in pro, but then it gets on up there and they have to become competitors. So I think that journey is super cool. But I think that's part of Florida foosball. There's so many masters down there. There's so many experienced players that you have that opportunity to call up a buddy, from back in the day and saying, hey, help me get ready. Like that's super nostalgic. And that you guys played in this tournament and you played in 1990, like that's got to be a fun thing for you guys both to relive. So I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
It was funny because when I was only a few years removed from winning the world championships, and Tom says, and I knew the story with Tom is he would go to Horton was on house arrest for a year, and Tom would go there every single day. And you can't call Tom a rookie. He was unrated. He doesn't like to be called a rookie. He makes that clear. But so he played with him every single day. And then Johnny's like, he walks up to me and goes, "You want to play in the Masters?" And I looked at him. I go get me a soda, kid. And he says, "Does that mean no?" I go, "Oh no, we'll definitely play him, but you got to go get me a soda. There's got to be a pecking order." And he starts laughing. I go, "No, dude, you've been playing with Johnny. I know you're awesome. I've been playing him, but anyway." So yeah, I mean, not even just that. So many people like Eric Hiltner. Didn't know Eric. I started coming back, and he's like, "Hey, bro, I'm Eric." And I go, "Real? No kidding." Well, I knew from what the things I'd seen on Inside Foods, but and I go, "Eric, what the heck, man? These guys are killing me. I feel like I'm there." And he says, "On a fake shot, do this and make them hit this hole 3 times. And once they hit the hole 3 times, don't worry about it. If not, continue to block other things." And it just worked for me. Suddenly I had some sort of a defense. And so, yeah, living in Florida like that is Tony will walk up. He walked up to me in Georgia. We gave a great match, me and Tom. We took a meatball. And
Wow.
he walks up to me and he's like, "Bro, you're trying to play like people play now with your game." He's like, "Slow down, do your game. Don't get caught up in the hype, And in the Florida State or the Masters we just played in, I think I probably played the best foosball I've been back by far. Because he says you got to power forward, don't be a hero. You got all the bank shots, you can hit 1,000,000-mile-an-hour shots, but Tom's the winner. And I've always said your goalie just has to let his forward take the game over. But just that little bit of advice he gave me, just take 7, 8 seconds like you used to do. And man, I passed through and did all the things I used to do on everybody. From Tony talking to me for 30 seconds. What a cool guy, right?
So let's take a step back, Mike, from the tournament, or no, from the Hall of Fame thing, from the past and all that, and let's talk about the tournament itself. Let's talk about Masters Championship this weekend. How was it? How was your experience?
Oh, my experience was I had a blast. I mean, for a lot of reasons. I mean, it was the tournament. I mean, when you have Kristen and John Lee there, I mean, it's madness, but they somehow seem to pull it all together. And I think was it doubles over like 9 p.m. or something
It
like
was
that.
done. The last event was
Really?
done by 1 in the
Yeah.
morning. That's silly. It's not.
But
I was not
one of
expecting
my
that.
obvious, and this is not a complaint on Rob. Rob, me and Rob were in contact a lot. over this whole thing, so it's not, I'm not, but I actually posted something. I was telling Adam about, that I can't do the 11 a.m. to 2:30 in the morning thing. I don't know how anybody, because it gets to a point for me that it's no longer about the skill, it's about the endurance, and I'm not running marathons. I'm just playing foosball. In fact, me and my wife walked every day to make sure my legs could hold up, and I had no issue with that. But when you're talking 14 hours a day at every tournament, it's not Rob's tournament, it's not a dig on him, but I thought it ran great. I thought, my favorite part of the whole thing was the junior event.
Sure.
And
yeah,
So cool.
It was so cool because I'm going to butcher his name, but there's a local guy here who plays, and his name is, I never can remember his name. I'll remember in a minute. So anyway, he actually brought 8 of his students from school that he's teaching to play foosball.
Nice.
So they had 8 extra people in the juniors event and so it just wound up being awesome. And then they let the juniors play on the pit table for the finals. And the only thing I was kind of bummed out, I was like, oh, why couldn't they have stopped play in the tournament? Well, they can't because there's too many events, and have that event play out with everybody watching them and cheering. What an experience that would have been,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the juniors are great. My most the coolest thing for juniors that I've seen in foosball since I've been back was at Mississippi State. The juniors played on table 1, and they were like best buddies. They grew up together playing against each other, and they didn't have much experience, and it was just they were both at the same level, but they could both execute and do great things. And after whoever won, we did an interview with them, with a microphone, while they're holding their trophy. And they loved it.
Yeah,
They were,
absolutely.
we did both of them. They did great. They loved it. And their parents came up after and was like, giving them that opportunity to just talk in a microphone, and I don't even care who's really listening, was so good for them. And they're so proud and fired up about foosball. And I was like, man, it's the little things, but I really think the juniors and us, prioritizing them and taking a little bit of time to highlight them, that's how we're going to move this game forward. So I think that's really cool that he brought the kids from school. That's awesome. I think that would be a great idea anywhere. So hats off. That was a great idea.
Yeah, his name was actually Peter, and I'm going to butcher the name, Podsiedlik.
Oh.
But anyway, he's a great local player. And that was cool.
His daughter, Grace, was in the finals.
Yes.
Shooting a massive pull kick.
Sweet.
A silly pull kick.
And Adam did a great job in commentating that match, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, Adam's awesome. Anyway,
that was
my highlight of the week, and I got to sit down with Adam and do some commentary. That was cool.
That was a lot of fun, Mike. But yeah, no, I literally was crying during that finals match because you had all those people there showing up, and you had family and friends and somebody's pops. Grayson, the kid's name was Grayson. His pops, I'm assuming, was wrapping the rod for him, the handle for him. Are you kidding me? I don't care. I don't care if they ever play again. I don't care if they ever do any of this ever again. In my mind, they have these moments and these memories, and it's on video. The hell with it. This is all that I care about, and that we all got to be involved in something like that, to me is, made the tournament for me. 100%.
Yeah, they need to make those kids a playing card and send it to them, their own foosball playing card. I'd pay for it.
Sure. Heck
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all great ideas. And like Adam said, they don't have to grow up to be Tony Jr. Okay.
Right.
I don't care if they ever tour, that's a experience that a kid gets to look back on in their life and say, man, this was so much fun. Such a positive thing that they can take from foosball that they might not have, they might not be the star quarterback or hitting home runs. But if they could look back and say, yeah, this one time when I was 13, I won whatever. I have it on video. How fun is that? That's great. Yep. That's a positive thing you can take from foosball. And if that's all they do, perfect. I'm happy. Yeah. So that really is a cool idea and aspect of foosball that sometimes gets overlooked. Why are the juniors playing on 1? Shut up. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Be quiet, boy.
Jeez, don't take this.
I love it.
What's the biggie?
What was funny is they had them out on this outer table outside the ballroom where they were playing a lot of matches, but they kept that just for them. so they wouldn't feel, probably scared or whatever.
No, I thought that was nice. Yeah, no.
And to watch them play, though, to watch as they went along, and I mean, male and female, see how competitive it started getting, but in a fun way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
I guess one little kid looks at his dad and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Adam."
No, go ahead.
But he looks at his dad and says, "Hey, that guy went into the Hall of Fame." And his dad said, "Well, tighten up." And the kid starts moving his bed really fast. It was so funny. He's like, he's going to show me how good he was. Like, wow, you were awesome. I was telling him all that, but it was fun.
Yeah, and it's so the ball. If you haven't been to Florida or the Masters Championships, there's the main ballroom. They've got about 18, 19 tables in there, and then there's like a lobby area that has another 5, 6, 10 tables, right? And that's where they were having all the junior events. They had a singles events too, but they kept it out there. I think specifically because they just didn't want to have, they didn't want all that added kind of pressure. But it was really cool that they ran the finals, at least for the doubles on there. That was the highlight.
And it didn't affect them a bit, but at that point they loved it. They were stars and they knew it. They were like, they were supposed to be there. Nobody looked nervous. They were all still having fun. It was great.
Yeah.
Can I say Grace, who was playing forward against Sherwin and his partner in the junior doubles final. Grace, who was playing up front, she was chewing gum, and she was looking tough as nails. And she had an amazing pull kick, and also a couple of dinks there on Sherwin that were just amazing shots. And Sherwin is no slouch. I mean, Sherwin has been playing with his dad for years, and he's liable to beat us often. But it's great to see that Grace just bared down and played tough foosball.
Well, just for the record, Sherwin actually he lost to Tony and Bob Diaz's kid in the finals of limited.
Really?
What do they call it? What do they call that now?
It's handicapped.
Handicap.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the kid actually got second in that with someone else. Played great. His father had an awesome weekend. His father, Stan, for those that don't know it, stands in a wheelchair and he rolls up, and people think, well, he starts out by beating Tom Yor, and Tom's playing back in the draw. Then he beats Jacob Balcos and Brandon Munoz. He puts them in the losers bracket.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was on fire, and he
with a push shot.
I got a few Stan burns on myself. He would have beaten us in the finals of senior doubles.
His push shot is phenomenal.
His 5-rod. The guy's an awesome player.
Oh yeah. He's a regular here in upstate New York, and of course he's from Vermont. But they come to the Smashdowns all the time. And when the Pulowskis arrive, they're in the building because Stan is gonna make the Open for sure.
Right.
He's just a monster.
And he created other little monsters.
Yeah.
And he has those guys are little monsters.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Well, they are little monsters. My buddy's an expert, and he absolutely annihilated them on the 5-rod. And he's just like, Mike, that guy beat me worse than Tony Freedom beat me on the 5. He's like, that kid is just passing through me from everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. I have 2 questions. This is for the council. This is for everybody here. This is not for anybody in particular. There's 2 things. The first one is something we haven't talked about yet. Jacob Balcos, great weekend again. Got dismantled by Tony in open singles because Tony picked up really early that Jacob can't block a pull kick. He's 15, 16. I don't. And maybe maybe he's blocked a pull kick, but he's not blocked Tony's pull kick. And he's not blocking somebody's pull kick that gets the ball that much, right? So that's not going to be like the biggest barrier for Jacob, I think, going forward. I think it's just an interesting part of his evolution. And again, he played like lights out. Like I watched a lot of foosball and seen a lot of foosball in the last. I mean, like these are all the tournaments that I've been to in the last, little less than a year. So I've seen quite a lot, and I've seen him progress and get better and better and better. And his ability to do what he does with his 5 and his 3, especially his 3 and play fearless, has been amazing. Okay, my camera's all messed up. I messed up my camera. Okay, that's fine. But that's point 1. Here's point 2, though. And this is something I brought up a lot this weekend, but nobody really had an answer to. Tony leaves. The heir apparent is Brandon, if he continues to play. Does it lessen Brandon's wins if he's not beating somebody that basically Afterworld has been dismantling him? Because Tony has been beating Brandon soundly at most events, right? Does that change anything? I don't know. I have no idea.
It's a shuffling of the top. So the top, you take the first layer of the top off. What rises to the top?
Sure, but I mean, does it change the meaningfulness of it though? If what rises to the top is
Mm,
not what you were,
I don't know.
I've never been in that position. I'm happy. I'm happy if I don't burn my quesadilla in my toaster. I have very low expectations, so I have no idea. I don't compete. Hannah,
Hannah, what do you think?
Kind of hard, but Tony's Tony. He's the top. He's the best. If you're a competitive foosball player, you want to beat the best. Well, you got to beat Tony. In my eyes, you know, a win is a win is a win. If you win, I can't help who didn't enter. Sorry about it. I won. Y'all didn't enter. Too tough. Okay. Still got the gold. Still going home with it. That's this side here. Side here is how does it weigh out when you get all of this, and then Tony comes back for Worlds, and then okay, and then he flips it and he wins Worlds. Does that disregard all these building up to it? Because, would he have won if Tony wasn't there? I don't know. But that's not the point. The point is if he wins, he wins. Great. Good job, Brandon. You can't take those away from him because he didn't have to beat Tony. But for me, it's like a level of competition. Say I go to Worlds and the top 10 women in women's don't show up and I win Worlds. Am I upset if I won and they didn't play? No. Why? I'm one Worlds. What's up? But then again, if I go to Vegas and everybody and their mama's there and I have to beat all of them to win, of course that win means more. For me, my Vegas journey meant more in singles than others have. Did I win? Or let's say who won at Vegas? Sully. Okay, great. Well, who did she play? Well, she was, a super high seed. She crushed literally everybody she played. I don't know how many matches even went 3 games. That's awesome, but my win meant a lot to me, just like her win meant a lot to her. If that means something. That's kind of how I can portray this Brandon Tony mix. Did I have to beat Tony Sully? No, I didn't beat her, but I beat everyone else. You know what I mean? So, okay, but that doesn't diminish my wins and it doesn't take away from her wins. She won the whole tournament. Heck yeah, she's going to be happy. You know what I mean? Just like Brandon would be happy if he wins the whole tournament. But he didn't play Tony. Who cares? It's just like kind of like a two-sided thing for me, I guess. But that's a great question. But if Tony leaves, it opens the door for other people to win. Jacob Balcos, Blake, everybody else, of course, Brandon, he's a shoo-in, but everyone else that also leaves it there because how many tournaments would so-and-so have won if they didn't have to play Tony for 7th?
Right.
I don't know.
And this is the thing, and and to that point, this is something that I keep thinking about because if you look at the top 12 of open singles at most events, especially the big ones, there's gatekeepers. There's a gatekeeper in the 9th round. There's a gatekeeper in the 5th round, and there's a gatekeeper in the third. For 3. So for 9th place, for 5th place, for 3rd place, right? You've got King Gabriel, Terry Rue. You have those kind of players there that aren't necessarily already getting the top, and then you've got Ryan Moore, Blake Robertson, Tony Sprademan, Brandon Munoz now, right? And if I was winning those things and I didn't see that top rung there, and I don't mean just in open singles, women's singles, any level across the board, and any tier that you're looking at, I would feel robbed. That's me, and I am a ultra competitive neurotic basket case. And maybe I overthink this kind of stuff. So maybe I'm not the person to be talking to, but I know that I would sit there and think about it and look at that and think,
Okay, so what about this scenario since we're just talking stuff? You play open doubles. Your bracket breaks before it gets to you. Meaning your 4 seed that you were supposed to play for open doubles for top of your page got defeated by Bobby and Johnny. And then you get to play Bobby and Johnny. And then you kick them. And then you kick somebody else. And now you've won top of your page in open doubles.
Yeah.
Is that like a man, I don't,
Well, see,
whatever.
and
Or
no,
is
and
that
that's
they had a chance, they were here and they
yeah.
didn't do their job, so tough,
See, and that's the thing. That's the thing. And that's the thing because that comes down, and I don't know a lot about math, but I do know the transitive property. And if they beat them and then I beat them, then I'm better than they, right? So if they is Tony
Technically.
and gets beaten by them, and then I beat them is better than they, which is Tony, and I'm better than Tony in that moment. But what foosball is, and anything competitive is like consistency, right? And consistently speaking, in the span of like 100 tournaments, they's beating them. You know what I mean? And I think about it, but you're right though. Like they didn't do their job that weekend. Like I said,
Or, say Tony makes it to the top of winners and the people that could have beat him in the finals, I'm not going to list names, but A, B, C, and D and E, they have potential to beat Tony in the final. Say they do. But they all get put out by X.
yeah,
So when they make it to the finals, X, who probably doesn't have a chance of beating Tony, makes it back, and then it's a wash. It's a cakewalk. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like it's hard to balance the brackets because you definitely think about
Oh
these
yeah,
things, right?
yeah.
Because you're just like, ooh, how does this matchup work or whatever? It's silly to talk about and think about, but
It is,
definitely
but it's fascinating though, isn't
cool.
it? It is.
Sure, and it's
Because
interesting to see. Will Brandon take over and be winning them across the board until
right,
Tony comes back?
this is not a conversation I think
We'd
we'd
see.
even be having, except for the vacuum that Tony leaves, right? And that's how
I have a
Exactly.
impactful.
question for you,
Yeah,
Adam.
yeah.
My question for you is, when Tony first started winning and maybe his first Worlds and Federico quit, does that put an asterisk by Tony's name?
I don't know
Ooh.
because Tony was still
Good
winning.
question.
Tony was still winning when Fred was still playing, and
Yeah, but Tony just like has no competition most of the time. What I'm saying is, would Tony have been Tony if Federico would have played another 5 years?
but I mean, if we're defining Tony by open events at majors, or are we talking about Tony in the 20 years that he spent playing foosball at every single event that he can get to? Because
Well, I'm
Fred
talking
never,
about,
but Fred never went to those.
yeah, but look how much he dominated is what I'm saying. Trust me, I'm just asking the question, kind of throwing one out to you, saying that if Fred had kept coming and kept playing, would would Tony have won those titles at that time?
I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, he was already winning, but I'm saying it would have been a different competition to
Oh,
me.
that's 100% for sure, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think if I was going to ask that question, you know who should answer that question? Ask that to Billy Pappas. I don't think there's anybody more qualified to answer that, and there's nobody that I can think of that also would be unafraid to answer that than Billy. After I chatted with him Sunday night.
Well, I have an unpopular opinion about Tony leaving, but I don't know why it's so unpopular. I think it's the best thing that can happen to foosball in America for a while, because I believe that there's going to be a lot more competition. People, I believe, will start coming back out again that maybe had quit for a while because, I mean, I posted a thing, and this is how I think anyway. I mean, people don't want to just come get beat up on, and I just believe if Tony left for a year, I just think that the tournaments would pick up and the competition would be great, and he'd come back to probably still win, but it would be great competition. That's all I'm saying. That because I just know people that make jokes like, we've made them, Tony got the top 3, blah, 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 next, and it's kind of seeing how it rolls, but I don't know. I mean, Tony leaving, obviously, he's the greatest player in America. We love him. He's, I don't care. I could go watch. The guy beat up on me so bad this weekend. I didn't know my own name. But guess what? I got to play him for, if the winner plays for the winner's bracket. It didn't matter to me that, that he beat up on me like that. But guys have been, if you beat somebody down long enough, they're eventually going to fade away.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I don't believe you. I don't believe you because I know that you were getting beat like that. It's by somebody somewhere in the 80s. And yet you still continued to grind and do and come back. I don't think unless you're talking about just a general average player that just wants to just kind of show up, have fun, maybe not get their ass handed to them.
Well, but you're talking about a different animal because unfortunately, everybody talks about TS and how TS was like, oh, they went away and everybody was devastated and depressed. Well, I just put, Dynamo started in 82, ended by 87. I just put myself in the driver's seat. I'd gotten, as a novice, I was 1 point away from playing for the winner's bracket. I won the next year, and I played with Adrian and played for the winner's bracket. So I'm in the driver's seat to play with anybody I want, and it goes away. So I will never know that. You know what I mean? I just think when you have people don't realize that Tornado's been around since 1972. So there's a lot of foosball, and for Tony has been on the same exact table for 20 years. And, it's not like back. Nobody really had that time. Yeah, Wiz and Fur or whatever, but people didn't go out and run off 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 majors in a row like Tony does. And there's a lot of reasons for it. You know what? Here's one for you. Me and Tony were talking in the Masters. I didn't even bring it up. He says, I hate the snake shot. And I looked at him, what?
Wow.
He goes, I hate the snake shot. And he goes, but I have to shoot the snake shot. That's how I win. He says, I would love to see the snake shot where people have to shoot pull kicks and push kicks. And I said, well, that's probably because you're a little bored with winning. It would bring more competition back into the game. I don't know, but I just found that really interesting. I guess that's not really what we're talking about.
It is fascinating.
Yeah, and this is so situational too for me because it's like a trap. Well, what if so and so wasn't in it? Who would have won this? Well, we don't know because so and so was in it and they didn't win that. It's just like a reality. There's your reality check. One. But two, it's kind of like I can see both sides of it. If say XYZ all are at tournament A and XYZ aren't very high rated players and X wins. Great. But it's more about the journey. Like, I don't know, wins are wins and I love winning and I hate losing. And that's simple. Okay. It's a fact. But I also love the journey, how am I going to get ready to win worlds this year? Well, it ain't going to tournament A and kicking the mess out of some 90-year-old women who've never played foosball. It doesn't help. Okay. Sorry. It's fun to win. Yeah, cool. But that doesn't do anything. You need to be going to this tournament where the top 20 people are going to be playing and every round's a gauntlet. I don't care what your seed is. It's tough. That's what builds more character and proves more to yourself. You know what I mean? So it really depends what you want out of it. Do you want a title? If so, go play tournament A and beat the 90-year-old women who are very nice. But if it's more about what you're trying to do, then, it's not that. So it's so situational talking about this. Personally, Tony's top of the top for me. It's like watching a guy that's been undefeated in the NFL for 20 years. Man, I don't want to. If people are like, oh, I don't want to see him win his 21st Super Bowl. Yeah, I do. He's great. I'm not cheering against him. He's, the greatest. That's how I feel for Tony. He's always been nice to me. He's helped me out a lot through my foosball career. Played with him a few times, had a great time. But I want to see him be great, And of course he gets beat, he gets beat. Yeah, fine. It's gonna happen. But it's so cool to see someone at the top of the game stay there and do that for a while. So it's gonna be interesting to me to see how that torch passes. Does it pass to Brandon and Brandon kind of take over? Or, is it passed to Brandon, then Blake, then Ryan, then whoever else comes in there, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting.
I think that's a better way to put it.
I'm no bigger fan of Tony than me, and I'll tell you,
Right.
I said that there should be a grandmaster because everybody wants to be called a grandmaster because everybody wants to be called a master, but a master is the guy who, in my opinion, who masters the game, and Tony has mastered the game. So if other guys are talented and great, they should be masters, but Tony should be the grandmaster until somebody knocks him off that. To me, how do you argue with Tony not being the grandmaster of foosball? Nobody's in his league. And
argument, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for me, honestly, it's not, to me, it's not disrespectful. And Tony wins for 35 years. God bless him, man. Do it,
And, here's your argument side to that. Tony can't win a tournament shooting a pull shot. Or can he? I don't know. It would be fun to see.
He won one shooting a pull kick, I can tell you that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's done that plenty of times. But, to master the game is like, he'll even tell you like my pull shot's terrible, and honestly, when he shoots it, it's not terrible. It's actually like pretty good, honestly. But it's just like, yeah, he's mastered it. But I think that would be a cool aspect of foosball to have a different level. But I think the level of quote unquote master is a bit watered down personally. But
Agree.
that's me. People who've won pro a few times go to master and then they never win anything. Great. That's awesome. So
to circle back on the original thing is I was asking, yes or no, Tony leaves, Brandon takes over, starts winning everything. Does it lessen those wins for Brandon? Tom, yes or no?
I would say no.
Hannah?
Yes.
Mike?
Oh, absolutely.
Tom?
Because you got to beat the Grandmaster.
Beat the Grandmaster.
Adam?
So if Tony's no longer part of the scene, then what's the difference? There's no longer that bar goes away.
So the scene is defined by who's playing in it.
So Brandon has to set the new standard.
Okay.
Brandon's the new bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but the question is like, why has that bar not been broken for the last decade or so? Who's been challenging? Who's been consistently challenging Tony? But Ryan?
What's a simple answer? Tony's the only full-time player left.
Right.
And
nobody
that
plays
is
never played full-time. If that's your life and that's all you do, you're going to be the best at what you do.
And that changes something, right? Because we start talking about players. I mean, you said it. Don said it earlier. You start playing 14 hours a day. That changes something. If I did anything 14 hours a day,
yeah.
Well, I
any professional sport that you play that much, of course, you have to be, the higher echelon.
You also have to consider Brandon is the new bar because he's the world champion right now.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's the new bar. I mean, it's I don't care how he won it. Okay, yeah, it was a slopped in pass. Whoop-de-doo. But it happens to all of us. Okay, whatever. Yeah. He's a world champion. He's the world champion in singles. He's the new bar. Yeah. So I guess that's part of why my decision is like it is. I like both of them a ton. Both of them are my good friends. But that's just how I feel about it. I guess the competitor in me is like, I think they're both equal. That in how I think about them and perceive them, but in my competitive mindset, that's just how I feel.
Right. Yeah. In our job, we're speculating, we're talking, we're just like building narrative and looking at this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really fascinating because we still have the whole it's May 2nd right now, and there's more months left in this year, right? So there's a lot of foosball left in this year, and we're going to see what happens. It's going to be really exciting to see. I mean, it's not silly, as robust as this conversation is, and as much as we may or may not know the answers, except for based on our own opinion, we benefit as fans of foosball to see this, and also as players. I mean, I don't play anymore, but when Hannah, you still compete, Mike, what
I
the hell?
Once put out there.
You hung up your spikes.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I posted this thing on Inside Foos, and I put, if you look at the breakdown of the players that are in the Masters with 48 teams, it's the most amazing 48 teams of players at a 15-grander.
Oh yeah,
I've ever seen.
Quite a deep.
I mean, it was just
roster.
Amazing, and I said, you know what? I hate anything but first place. It comes from playing football. It comes from playing baseball. From a kid, I was told, win, win, win. You got to win, win, win. And I don't mean that in a negative. It's a positive way. It's the confidence to win. And I've never been satisfied with second place. I got, I got second place or third place at the year after I won. I had an opportunity to be the first person to ever win 2 world championships in a row. And everybody goes, you got to be happy with yourself. You got third. I said, I'm freaking pissed, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I just said, I sat back and thought, I'm proud of myself to get fifth in this, which means I have to quit the game because I'll never be a champion again. Because if you're satisfied with fifth and you think you did a great job, you're probably not going to get back to first. That's just how I feel about it. I came back and I had a plan. My plan, Tom doesn't even know this, my plan was to play that Thunderdome, and once I played, I knew that I'd eventually play with Tom each week and get him back on my team, and I wanted to play 2 decent sized tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't ask him. I never said a word. He calls me. He goes, "Hey, we're on for Georgia State and Masters if you want to play." And I told my wife. She starts laughing. She goes, "How do you know he would do that?" I said, "Because I know Tom. Me and Tom have been playing together so long. He knows every move I make. I'm maybe the worst goalie out of the top 30 people there, but with Tom, he knows my mistakes. He knows everywhere I put the ball, he knows exactly what I'm going to do and where I'm going to shoot it." And so anyway, I'm kind of rambling. I kind of got lost in my thought there, but so anyway, my whole point was right after the match, and Tom knew it. I said, "Tom, it's time for me to hang up our cleats." He goes, "What's up?" I go, "I'm not your goalie to beat these guys. I mean, we beat Dylan Marshall 3 straight. I blocked the crap out of Dylan, and Dylan's my worst nightmare. And but we lost to Brandon and we lost to Tony, the 2 best players in the world. And I said, Tom, you can't win a major with me, and that's how I feel about it. I don't want to hold the guy only plays so many tournaments a year, so." I loved it. I enjoyed it all, but I'll come hang out at tournaments and have a beer and hang out with whoever, like, Texas State, and I may play an event or two. But, my main reason, honestly, for leaving is because I'm not playing any 14-hour days anymore in foosball. I'm too old for that nonsense. I mean, which sucks because I think I'm actually playing good. That's what really aggravates me. But I don't want to be stuck in a hotel room. And, I think there's so many people like me who just keep playing and come back and play, but they're not going to deal with it anymore. It's not worth it to us, especially at an older age. But anyway.
Yeah. And, just because you feel that way, it may be true. It may not be. It's your own perception. But if that's what makes you happy and you think that's where you need to be in foosball, then fine. But it doesn't mean that you have to, like you said, it doesn't mean you have to sit at home and not do anything. You can still come hang out and do whatever and commentate, because personally, I think it's so wholesome when someone commentates that has such a rich foosball history and knowledge of the game. And I think that's just such a good thing. So, I definitely hope that you do that because, you're super cool to talk to on here. I think you have a lot of solid content, foosball. And I think foosball needs more of that is how I feel.
Well, I have a Frontier Airline credit card with 160,000 miles on it, so I'll be coming to a lot of tournaments.
Perfect.
I told my buddy I'd grab an old man senior and we'll play a little seniors. I told Adam anytime that he's got a solo seat, and I'd love to sit in. I was real happy. My first time I ever did it, someone came up to me and goes, "Wow, nobody ever does a goalie's perspective like you did."
Right.
I didn't realize it, but it's because I'm a goalie. I was
Exactly.
And they're like, "Yeah, you were talking about," because I had said at one point, I said, right now the 2 goalies are shooting the ball back and forth to each other, and their forwards are on fire, so they're killing their forwards. One of them needs to pass the ball to their forward to give him a shot so he can get back in the game. So the guy immediately, it was weird. He hit a pass, his forward catches it, and he scores. Because if you're just playing back and forth when your 2 forwards are on fire, you're just clearing the ball playing, catch. And now you got your forward sitting there for 3 minutes not getting the ball or even shooting, and they're like, "Give me that friggin' ball, man!" So anyway, that's just things like that I look at, and they seem interesting to people, I guess.
Oh no, it is. No, I love that. I love that insight that you have, Mike. It's excellent, and I'm really happy that we got the chance during the time we did to do some matches. But I think we're going to be starting wrapping up here. Really appreciate the time with you, Mike, this evening, and Hannah and Tom. But before we get to you and give you the last word, Tom.
Well, first of all, Mike, let me just say congratulations on your Hall of Fame. This is long overdue, and it's a great honor to get a chance to talk to you about this, and thank you so much for being such a supporter, of course, of what happens with Foos Talk Live, Foosball Radio, and FoosWeek. It's clearly we really appreciate your support.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love foosball. I said I've quit every drug I've ever done except foosball.
Yeah.
I can't kick that habit. So, and you guys make it fun. I mean, I tell people all the time that you guys basically, nobody knew who Mike Green was until the show. I mean, you guys, from being on here, I'm saying today, and now a lot of people do, and you guys got me inspired to come back and play the game again and made it fun again. I mean, I left because I hated the game because it was boring. and and it was just too much crap. People were arguing and fighting, and I don't want to deal with all that. And today, it's such a different game. I'd bring my wife there like I did. I don't have a problem with my wife being there. If somebody says something negative to my wife, I'm gonna go off. So it's good that foosball has changed because people are nice now. Anyway, that's it.
Hannah?
Yeah, super cool talking to you, Mike. Like I said, you might be quote unquote done in your perspective of foosball, but don't let that be the end of you enjoying it. No matter what level that is, commentating, hanging out, playing a few events, kicking it, whatever. You're one of the good ones, so stick around. And it's super cool once again to have a platform like this for Adam to throw questions up and us discuss, random things. And the four of us, kind of get together and say, I think this or I think that, or let's vote on passing the torch or how it's going to go. This is all speculative stuff. It's not really based on anything besides opinion, which is super cool because you have four different ones in one room that's getting to broadcast that. And, any comments or anything anyone has, if you want to further discuss or have other cool ideas to pitch or talk about that more, I think that will be a really cool idea. And then we get to see how it plays out. So I'm just really thankful for the platform, for the opportunity to talk with guys like you and Mr. Don. So overall, great episode on my end.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've had people call me or text me saying, it's not fair that you quit because we want to learn from you. Like, these are my friends, that are just coming up.
Sure.
I've been playing with and practicing with and giving them my advice on, like I shoot banks and people are like, how the heck do you do that? And I tell them how I do it without even looking at, I look at it as one spot on the whole table and I know where I'm going to shoot everything. And they're like, how do you think like that? And I go, well, you just have to watch defense. Anyway, I don't want to go on and on about it, but it was kind of cool to have those guys texting me saying, man, you can't get us fired up and then leave us.
Right.
I'll
Go be a
still be
mentor.
around a little bit,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to be said to that, Mike. I don't believe you're ever going to really go.
Oh, no, I'm never going to go. I told you I quit every drug there was except foosball. It's just an addiction I can't kick, so I'll be around.
Yeah, you need time back. And I think that the elephant in the room, something that we really didn't talk about a whole lot, I don't think, was the Swiss system and Swiss tournaments. And I don't know if there might be one in the near future that you might go to that might be a little more conducive to your scheduling. But that might be something we talk about here on FoosWeek sometime in the next couple weeks or months.
Well, that was my whole point of coming back because I started playing Monsters. And then I heard about the Swiss, and unfortunately, it seems like it died on the vine. It got me fired up and brought me back, and I've had a great time doing it. But I'm just kind of like, I don't want to play 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, sit around and wait 18 hours for a match. It's just not my DNA. I got too much fun things to do with my wife and life and short time to do it. So
yeah, me
and my wife and my daughter do everything together, and that's all I care about. The rest is just a weekend getaway. So
100%. 100%. Well, Mike, again, thank you. Gonna give it up to you. The floor is yours. Any last words?
Really, I think I ran my mouth just about enough. But no, it was super. I will say that, and I don't want to bring a bummer to this thing, but my good friend Thomas Wally Hudson left the tournament, passed away, and I've known Wally over 30 years, and Wally's Wally. He's a nut, but he's our nut. So he's people don't realize about Wally. They never heard his name. He he won some big tournaments back in the day, but he was just such a big part. The guy he didn't care. He had nothing really to do with tournaments, but every week he'd get up there and he would list every player he could think of and say, "Where are you? Come get you some." I mean, he was just such a big part, and I've never met such a gentle soul in my life. And his daughter was his best friend, and luckily he got to play with her that weekend in the tournament. And he told people that he had never had that much fun since 1970, that we just made his life, that, hanging out. And he would tell his buddies that I know in Ohio, he would say, you know what, Ohio is where I'm from, but Florida is also my family. They've treated me well since the day I walked in the door, and I love those guys. And his daughter put it like, you guys just sent him to foosball heaven, because he died in heaven no matter what happened. And I think that's freaking awesome.
That is awesome. That is hard, but that's, Well, thank you, Mike Green, Hall of Famer Mike Green, everybody. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time you spent with us this evening.
I had a blast. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, another Foos Week in the books. Hannah, Tom, I think, and I appreciate you all playing along, not playing along, but, that was not a fun question that I asked about the Munoz thing, but it's something that came up over the weekend, and I was thinking about it because it's not really about just so much Brandon Munoz and Tony Sprademan. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with how we feel about what competition is and what winning means to us.
Sure.
At a larger level.
Exactly.
And I think, because it doesn't matter, like, again, and Hannah, you said it eloquently, like, it doesn't matter what we think about that. We're just some people having opinions, and I don't care. You send all of anything you're upset about to 111 P.O. Box 111 whatever. But I do think this, Tom, would be a really great question, or maybe a fun clip to put on the new Foosball Radio group page that you have now.
That would be nice. Yeah.
To have a little bit of conversation, because it is something that I think is more of a mirror and lets us know more about the person that's answering the question than the actual state of foosball.
I like it.
I agree with that.
Let's do it.
I hear somebody practicing.
Yeah.
Is that Bracklin?
I was going to
Yeah.
say, it sounds like
Bracklin,
Charlie
stop.
Watts.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. I like it. It's nice. Yeah, no.
Sorry. It's fine.
It's fine. Well, let's wrap up. What a great show! Great to talk to Dan Chalifoux. I've never talked to him, but Don Chalifoux, Mr. Don. I've never talked to Mr. Don before.
Don.
Yeah, I love that. I never talked to him
You said
before.
he's great.
Yeah, no, what a lovely gentleman. What a super cool dude. That was awesome. But let's get some last words in here, Tom.
I would say that Don and Mike, both, extremely positive forces in the force, of course, in the sport of foosball. That's what we love to talk about on FoosWeek is the positive forces, and there you have it. There's two fine examples.
I love that positive forces. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah?
I agree. Sometimes it's hard to find the positive in things in life. And the more we talk to people and bring people on that we've known or we haven't really met or haven't spoken to in a while, you see like, wow, that is like a positive side of things. Like they are doing something really great, and that's refreshing. But I think the world of Mr. Don, same with Mike Green, both class acts, super cool episode on my end to get to talk about some cool stuff with those guys and to discuss, passing the torch. That's the fun part of foosball for me is, and I don't even really care if anyone hears it. I know that sounds weird since we're on a podcast and you're listening, but if it was just, me and my buddies sitting at the house or me and Bracklin, we talk about it, I think it's so fun to have those conversations and say, well, I feel like this. Well, why? Well, because of this or my experience here, so I think that's really cool that I get to have those conversations and even cooler that you guys get to listen to them. If you don't agree, turn it off. No, I'm just kidding. But everyone has a different opinion. So I'm looking forward to, I'm sure I will hear at tournaments, come up to me with the tournaments. You say, oh, listen to the podcast. What do you think? Well, if we're bringing up something that you want to, voice your opinion with or have a chat about, bring it on because that's what I like, And I think that helps everyone in the foosball community kind of figure it out a little bit better.
100%. Yeah, we have those conversations. I think that's the whole point. Like we're talking about what foosball is and what it is to us, and that's how we can only move forward from here. I think that'd be a really good foosball radio group page chat
Content.
Yeah, we'll cut
go.
Well, you know what? We'll cut that conversation, put it on there, see what people have to say. Here, come
Cool.
listen to us. But all righty, folks. We've been at it for a little over 2 hours now, so. That's Hannah Smith. There's Tom Robinson. I am Adam Gilson. This was FoosWeek. We thank you all. We thank our Patreons, and we thank what do we thank? Well, we thank ice cubes.
And coffee.
And coffee. And I love that. Seriously,
Water.
and water. Yeah. All right.
That's not water.
Thank you, ice cubes, water, and coffee. We're signing out now.